10, 15 years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him, and 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability. RTD Live Talk, election night. And so I figured I would log on, check in with everybody, and try to find out what the current vibe is around the country. And more importantly, you know, this past weeks especially, there's been a major push to get people to get out and vote. And so when you have former administrations hitting the campaign trail as if like it's something really at stake, you know that there is a lot of things that are at stake rather. And so definitely want to check in with you guys tonight and see what's going on and find out what your expectations are with this entire electoral process is underway right now. And also probably do a little live coverage or whatnot, see what's happening around the country and see if there's any surprises or whatnot, even though I haven't been following, you know, certain states as much as I probably should have, but it is what it is. So welcome to RTD Live Talk. My name is Mike, the host, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show, and we're live. And so want to find out what your expectations are. So there's a number above my head, 833 Live RTD, as well as this chat right here. Let me know what are some of the things that you hoped are accomplished with this, what people are considering the most important midterm election of our entire country. All 200 plus something years is boiled down to what's currently underway now, according to a lot of people. And it looks like it's more so according to the Democratic side, because I think if it is a red wave that sweeps through this country, there's going to be a lot of things that will be brought to the light that they do not want the public to know. So anyway, that's some of my expectations. But without further ado, let's find out what's happening in the chat room. And as always, if any new viewers, feel free to let us know where you're watching us from in the chat. And it says, Tony, what's up, fam? How you doing, my friend? Kenneth, Scott, Lennox says, Philman Ty says, Justin, all politicians will always agree on one thing, just print the money. Very true. They have no other alternative because they're taking a position of which there's no solution really to a problem. All they can do is suggest some type of band-aid, patch-up, fix type of job to get through their term, and then it's on to the next one. And so I think one of these days, what'll be a very worthy piece of legislation that should come from, hopefully, Trump. If not, Trump probably the best person to try to come, propose this idea, but give them limit on the amount of terms you can have in your political career altogether. So like presidents can only do a maximum of 2 terms. I'm not sure if there's limits on any other body member or body of the legislative branch. But I would imagine that if you have people who are lifelong politicians, it's open game. And I think they need to put a cap on those, which would definitely alter a lot of people's plans. But it says, all politics says, question, did you hear Elon Musk state that Ford won't make it through the next recession? You think Ford will get a government bailout if they go bankrupt like in 2008? Philman, I did not hear that. But I hope that the government doesn't bail them out because, you know, Ford, which there's an article that came out last week, punchline on, but it looks like General Motors was throwing out an opportunity for up to 18,000 people to take an early buyout package, of which, you know, you got until next year before changes are made automatically. So if you feel like, you know, your position is in that fold of 18,000 jobs, would you take one of those buyout packages? I sure know I would. But as far as Ford being bailed out, hopefully not. Here's the thing. This next situation that's going to occur, there's going to be too many industries, too many sectors that will be impacted for the government to sweep in and try to save everybody. And so we already know that the automotive industry is based upon financing and easy credit anyway, because most people, all people for the most part, can't truly afford to actually go to a dealership and buy a car outright. So you have to finance it. And more importantly, now people aren't financing, they're just leasing vehicles, as if that's any better. You actually rent to own, or you're renting a car that you can't do much with. And so that's how they're getting people nowadays. So I hope that there is no bailout, and I hope that the market basically goes belly up, because it's unsustainable. It's not realistic in comparison to how everyone else in this planet is living. So I don't foresee any type of bailouts, but we'll see. It says elections only matter to the local level. Very true. And here in Michigan, there's one proposal here that was on the ballot, and it has to do with marijuana, legalizing marijuana for those that are 21 and older. And so I imagine, that's going to be something that probably is passed, just because it seems like, legalizing marijuana in Canada as well as the rest of this country is going to be a major issue in the next couple of years, if not already. So I can see it happening here in Michigan. It says won't matter much. It says won't matter be business as usual. Middle class will lose. I do agree 100%. It says, yeah, I'm confused. How is it neck and neck? That's odd to me. So let me see what's going on here, because I was actually looking at something. And so it says as of now. So I have a couple live feeds up. And so according to this I think this is from ABC News, it says here, chance of controlling the Senate. And so it's Republicans. I'm not sure if this is their projections of what they want. It says chance of controlling the House, 3 and 5, 2 and 5. So it looks like, according to this graph here, the House is leading the way for the House, and the Senate is pretty much swallowed up in red. So I'm not sure how they actually calculate all this, but it is what it is. So yeah, so if anybody's tuning, good resources to scan at while we're live, I would love to scroll over and check out some of those news worthy articles to see where we're currently at. Got a spider in front of me. What else is happening in the chat here? It says, hi, Mike. Did you watch Mike Maloney's episode 9 and 10? What are your thoughts? Seems we are going through the same as Rome. Very good. I saw episode 9. I started 10, given it was almost 40 minutes long. So I got through half of it. But just off the initial takeaway was, of course, Mike Maloney's always spot on with what his, how he basically assessed where we're at now in comparison to history. And so clearly it's a repeat of what has already happened. That's why I always say that there's nothing new under the sun. It's just an altered, more high-tech version of something similar, but it's the same situation. Rome is the same as the United States government as well as every other government, because our government body was not really designed to hold the position that it holds in our life now, to where it's trying to sustain itself off of the labor and taxation of the population, which is not gonna work, because the only way they can keep that power and that position is to make promises that they can't pay. And a government that doesn't produce anything of value doesn't deserve to exist, in my opinion. It says nothing will change, say it, prove, 50 years to prove that. Yeah, but yet, if things have been in the last 2 years with the amount of division between both sides of the aisle. Initially my thought was that both sides of the aisle are of the same school of thought, which is big government and more promises for the people. But it appears to be that something has shifted in the fact that this current administration is not playing along with the typical narrative. Now, I'm not saying that he's doing something different. He's a savior. I wouldn't go that far, because I think he's a big Trojan horse at the end of the day. I really don't put much hope and confidence in him. But in reference to how much problems he's causing to the status quo, I do appreciate that, because I think our country has been asleep for several decades. Hence the whole idea of, you have people on the Democratic side that's walking away, to what, I'm not sure, but they're walking away from their, family-based political ideology for the most part, and they're asking questions. So in the last 2 years since President Trump has been in office, there's been more people that I know of who's all of a sudden become very political. People who would never want to talk about politics ever before now are actually reading up, they're studying, and they're open to hearing the alternative media side of thing, which, of course, if it was not for this massive shakeup that's underway now with all the trouble and how Trump is basically pissing everybody off by tweeting and rambling his mouth off, it's causing our public to wake up, and I think that's right on time. Now, will it help? It'll help a few, but will it help the majority? Of course not. It says, Will Edwards, please name one promise Trump has kept. I am not saying that he kept all his promises. One of the promises that appears to be different, and I'm sure will be very beneficial for us down the line, is this whole TPP, this Trans-Pacific Partnership Union aspect of making our the European Union as well as the United States of America and a variety of other countries under one window as a globalist type of organization. And the fact that he removed us from that, I think, is beneficial for us now, because that probably stabilizes a little bit of our current economy in the job sector. Then you have the idea that he's shaking up the NAFTA, and we know that NAFTA has drained our country of manufacturing. And so I'm not saying that it would be any better, but the fact that he's willing to step in there and say that we want a better deal, you know, I haven't heard a president talk about a better deal in a while. Most presidents give up everything we own and allow things to be a part of this globalist narrative. So those are just two things that I think have more of a benefit to you and I than, you know, anything else. So, but I'm still waiting on his biggest promise of all, which is that special investigation on his on the candidate that he ran against. If I see something like that, then I believe that this guy's really attempting to drain the swamp, like he said. But once again, it's still early, you know, verdict's out, and so I'm not sitting up here saying I'm like, you know, go off and have anybody else do it for me. But, you know, to each his own. So no wall. The wall, I mean, so in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna see how this wall situation goes, because as those migrants move closer to this country and they try to get across that border, depending on what happens, if they get through or don't get through, our government will be willing to address the importance of either having a wall or removing a wall, especially if things don't go the way that people, you know, hope, God willing, it don't go in a negative sense to where there's, you know, gunshots and there's lives lost along that border, because it'll be hard to sell the need for a wall at that point, because you would say that the military is the wall. So we'll see, man. We will see. It says more. It's all in defense of the dollar, my friend. See, the reserve currency is you gotta flex some muscle and sanction everybody. And ultimately, what they're doing in sanction everybody is just giving people. They're forcing people to come up with alternatives. Hence the idea of the de-dollarization process. And so we got the situation with Iran right now, of which all they're going to do is basically just open up their oil sales to some other country and some other currency, and all the currencies that have the little. What is it? Was it 10 or 11 countries that have a thumbs up in Russia that does business with Iran, and you got China's banking system, payment method. So, you know, all that's doing is forcing people to just look at how they can diversify outside the dollar, and that's good for them, but it's gonna be bad for us. It says NAFTA 2.0 is a repackaging of the old NAFTA, no real change. Very true, but it's a change for the Mexican people, because as I mentioned a while ago, you know, in a year or two, they're going to basically give them their version of a living wage of $15 to $16 an hour across the board for their manufacturing base, which is an upgrade for Mexicans, but yet it's a downgrade for us citizens here who have a much higher standard of living, to where $15, $16 an hour, $30,000, $32,000, $33,000 a year, you know, not going to go much farther than, you know, most people would need for it to do, especially next year when inflation really picks up. So, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, NAFTA is a big deal, but if it wasn't for, you know, our current administration, we would never even hear anything about a renegotiation of NAFTA. So the fact that they're talking about something different, you know, that right there is unique in itself. It says, yes, I'm not holding my breath for the first deep state arrest. It says 45,000 indictments, no arrest. So, Will, here's the thing. I think a lot of those indictments, 45 or whatever it might be, whoever's names are in those things, I would imagine definitely the Democratic side of things, as well as Republicans, are going to be in there as well. I would imagine that there's a lot of names in there that would shock our country into some type of civil war. Because think about this. Let's just talk hypothetically here. I'm just, speaking freely with you because you're family. We on here tonight. Let's have some fun. Just talk hypothetically of, what'll happen if there's a couple top-notch, politicians, celebrities, presidential candidates, former Secretary of States, and all those people names are in those indictments. How do you think the media would spin that, A, and then B, how would the public respond based upon how the media would spin that? And so there's a couple different ways, but just two things that come to mind, and feel free to chime in if you guys have a thought on it. But if the liberal media, the more of the CNNs, everybody else, even Fox News, whatever, they all play the same game. They all read off teleprompters. So, I tell people never trust a person that speaks off a teleprompter because they're actually reading a scripted speech. It'd be better to listen to a fool's spine because you might pick up one bit of truth in that. So, Trump is Trump. The mainstream media is going to paint Trump as a villain. He's a tyrant. He's making up these charges against former politicians and celebrities and stuff like that. We need to get rid of him right now because he's causing problems. He's trying to undo everything that was done before him, type of thing. So the media will make it look like Trump made up all these allegations and the 45,000 indictments are all false. They're all made up and stuff like that. And so I don't think we'll actually have a chance to get through all 45,000 without some type of civil unrest taking place because, a lot of the African-American community as well as the Latino-American community are still Democratic, election-based individuals, and they, we just came off an 8-year presidency where we had a very, how would I put it? We had a great speaker / very charming individual who was president for 8 years, where that was he was strategically placed in that position at the right time, given everything that's happening, to where, a part of the order, Hillary was supposed to be next. I do believe that. And then after Hillary, we were supposed to have a transgender or a Latino American or a homosexual president down the line. I mean, that plays right into the narrative of what I think the globalists would like to see happen, because it just promotes more of this liberalist looseness. We don't stand for anything. We allow anything to happen. So point in case is, at the end of the day, if those indictments were to be announced on national television, the American public wouldn't believe them unless there was proof and evidence. So if Trump ain't willing to open up them concealed indictments and all the documents and videos and phone records and computer files that can show proof, I still don't think the American candidate of all time who has people brainwashed could ever do something against his own country. So that's just, my 2 cents in the matter. But until we can see some proof of all these indictments, I don't think it's going to mean much. But it's good to say that if there was a blue wave that has swept through the House and the Senate, we would never see an indictment, because the game plan is to make sure our president, President Trump, is no longer in office if there was a blue wave. So we'll see how things pan out. But once again, I'm rambling too much, so forgive me. It says, "Hey Mike, it's Mr. Get Your Weight Up. The best video on YouTube that shows the 2008 Fed audit is called All the Plenary Men." It says, put on your seatbelt and get ready to see behind the curtain. Yes, sir, Mr. Get Your Weight Up Man. The best video on YouTube shows the Fed audit. All right, I'm going to have to check that one out. It says, Tony, indictments equals accusations, which doesn't put you in jail. Look up the word, please. Very true, Tony. They're all accusations. But here's the thing with accusations. The very fact that you have something that can be brought up to show proof of possible treason, coercion to defraud, defame, lie in front of a grand jury, any type of thing you can prove that would, put a person in a very dark light would ruin their career, A. And then if you can show some actual proof, if it goes to trial type of things, I think it'll help set this country free of some of the some of the heavy burdens and weight that has been placed on us from the higher ups right on down. And people might then realize that they've been played for the fool all of their lives, thinking that a two-party system was enough for them. to where hopefully they will be more open to realizing that their life should be in their own hands, not in a certain politician. So if it can just shine some light on corruption and some actions that would shine light on these political figures that have been lifelong politicians and get them out of there and hopefully put some integrity back into those positions, I will be for it. So, we'll see. Time will tell. It says Trump boys on the media, government, sports, movie, banks own the, and yes, even Trump. Yeah, that's probably true. As I always said, Tone, we're going to find out what happened. The truth always has a way of making itself to the light. So, I just say give it time. Give it time. But in the meantime, like I say, live your best life. Enjoy your life. Do the best you can. Contribute to humanity and smile and enjoy your time above ground. That's my approach. It says Trump said the Clintons are good people. He said this after the election, of God's sake. Yeah. So watch this. So that's very true. And so during the presidential camp, the presidential Trump running for office, the candidate Trump rather, he spoke that harsh tone voice. I'm going to make sure I get a special prosecutor. We're in a big, fat, ugly bubble. All those things he painted out, which were the truth, now has changed. And I would say that, and what I would hope to believe is that once he was in office and he realized the seriousness of how bad things really are, in order to actually, execute any type of game plan, you got to make sure all your steps are in order. You can't skip step 1 and go to step 4 and make any type of plans, whether it's for good or for bad. You know what I'm saying? Because definitely Trump going to leave office, like every other president before, in a much more favorable position monetarily, even though, his estates, I'm sure he don't need any more, paper. But yet he's going to be a lot better off leaving than he did coming in, like everybody else. And so I think that if he is operating in a way where he says that he's a nationalist, he wants what's best for our country, we will see. But I think he'll stick to his steps of step 1, step 2, and so having a Supreme Court that has 5 somewhat conservative minded individuals that respect the idea of living up to the Constitution, that's better than having 5 or 6 open-minded, tolerate anything individuals who say that Constitution is outdated and is no longer relevant to today's time, so we need to change it. And so I would definitely go with the first than the latter, in my opinion. But perhaps, it might be different for somebody else. And so once again, we're having a conversation right now. It's not about red or blue. So don't get me wrong, people. It's not about red or blue. I ain't sitting up here saying that he's this, whatever. Look at the color around the screen right here. What color is that? It's green. This is all about green. Realizing that the green is what's causing us problems, and who's behind that? It's the banking sector. It's the central bankers who are controlling and ruling DC and everything around them. So if we can take care of one step, it'll be easier probably to get to 2 to maybe 3 if it's meant to be that way. So like I say, it's not about red or blue. It's about green. It says Trump said the Clinton says that is not politically correct. Tone, talk to me. What's not politically correct? In reference to my statement about the different It's not politically correct, but this is not a politically correct show. This is a show where I want to keep it truthful as I can and be open with you guys, and vice versa. Keep it real with me, please. I believe the agenda all along was if we can get an African American into the White House, or half whack, whatever, we can get a woman. That right there breaks barriers through the roof. Then the whole feminist movement, which has grown significantly in the last decade that I've been paying attention, where women no longer need men now. So you have a lot of women talking about, we can do without men. Let me see you try that. We got a 30-year, 40-year lifespan on this planet before this boy is barren, because without any seed, you can't have any fruit, baby. But anyway, African American, a woman, a Latino American, homosexual, and then a transgender. And those last 2 could be interchangeable either way. Because if you guys paid attention, I think it was in Massachusetts or something like that. A governor or a mayor is open transgender. So I think it's a he, or I'm not sure I'm not sure what it is, but it is what it is. So it's real life, people. That's just, I'm not being, racist, homosexualist, or homophobe. That's just, that's the decision they choose to make. More power to you. It says, we don't know that is the case. Johnny Deep, that's wrong. I'm not even going to say that word. I'm not even going to say that. That's a little much. Who says that there are sealed accusations we don't know? Maybe Q. Tony, once again, other than just, from a variety of sources that I personally, follow in the alternative media space that seem to share a lot of, credible information, I would believe that those accusations are true. And then there is actually a website that I clicked on one day, and I'm not sure who it came from in the source, but if it comes to mind, but yet you can click on it, and it's federal indictments that are sealed by state. And so it was a www.gov, federal something or nothing. It was a lot of states with 50, 100, 75, they're sealed. So when I read that, I'm like, okay, so there's a lot of indictments out there now. Who's in them? Who knows who's in them? So, I think depending on how this election process go, we might see, who's in them, sooner than if we may not ever see them at all. So the question is, Tone, the question for you, given the fact that these indictments, who knows who's in them, who's real, would you be interested in finding out who is inside those documents and what the accusations are that they are accused of? And if there's proof to go along with that, would you want to know the truth? I'm curious. Tom, let me know. Would you want to know the truth? Says, hi, Mike. Did you see Bix alert JP Morgan busted for rigging silver market? I saw the cover, but I didn't read it. But I also saw Chris Dwayne, his video mentioned about some silver situation. So we got the Republic Metals Company went bankrupt. So we got a precious metals company went bankrupt. Then we have, as you mentioned here, the JP Morgan, of which let me go ahead and pull it up right now. Here's the thing. It's unfortunate that mainstream story to come about for people to believe it. But we already know that there's a manipulation with the price, hence the fact that I'm looking at all the financial markets, all the commodities / gold, silver, oil, they're in the red, but all the paperback stuff, the NASDAQ, S&P, all those in the green. So, and even when those financial instruments were in the red, commodities was still slightly in the red, slightly in the green, but it should have been just whoop, whoop, that type of activity. But it was always this, but commodities never moved. So, what else we got here? It says, former JP Morgan trader pleads guilty. Okay, so here's an article here, but former JP Meta, ex-JP Morgan, Ted Butler. Yeah, so here's, how, because you got all that manipulation, all that crime taking place, but yet it just says here, former JP Morgan trader with an E or the R behind, as in one, pleads guilty. And so you got a 36-year-old, I guess, who's in charge of entire systemically important bank rigging, and manipulating stuff. So a 36-year-old takes the fall for something that's been happening for decades upon decades. So without even reading it, the fact that one person taking the blame for it lets me know that this article, if this is it here, this may not be any really big news that's going to cause the price to spike. But that's just me. If there's another article, feel free to let me know. Shoot it to me. It says, if the Democrats win, they can tell us the truth. And so, as always, I apologize. My phone line is off. Forgive me. So, I missed a couple calls. So, people, feel free to call in. 1-833-LIVE-RTD. Let's get you on here. Find out what's on your mind. What are your expectations? So, once again, the topic for tonight is what's your expectations? Are there any? Or is this just any other, midterm type of election for you? Or are you hoping that something comes out of this? Let me know in the chat or call in. That's the topic for tonight. So make sure you guys call in, let me know. And then as always, if you look down below this screen here to your right, those thumbs up, thumbs down, we can use a couple thumbs up. Once again, if we get 80%, that's my criteria. And if we get close to 80% of thumbs ups to watch, you get a chance to win you some gold to get your weight up. And so speaking of which, I got a fresh batch, got some, it's always good when, when you come home and you got a little package with some money in it, got me a little yellow thing. So I've convinced myself that for once a week, this is just me, this is just what I'm going to do because of this opportunity. And the fact that I'm really, as I dive more into all this gold stuff and I read about it, and actually a viewer shared a really important video that I'll post in the comment section that talks about from the gold summit in reference to how important gold was with some up-to-date data. And I was like, ooh, let me go ahead and try to give me some more of this stuff. Because, just thinking about historically where it's been and where it's at now and all the risk in reference to counterparties and everything else outside of physical metals in your hands is so large. Man, people don't understand the risk. So I personally have taken an interest into diving deeper into understanding, the risk and reward behind our energy and efforts, and especially when it comes to our finances. And I got some things that I'm like, man, it motivates me to want to share it with you guys, to encourage me to just stay positive and not to pay attention to the price, and to make sure I, definitely, get my weight up. I can't tell people to get your weight up if I'm not getting mine up. So, but I'm going to share that with you guys pretty soon. It says, JP Money, what else it says? They were seen back in behind 2008 crash as well stole Washington Mutual Bank. Yeah, there's a lot of banks that went under in 2008. Just like this next correction, there's going to be a lot of other banks to go out. I've actually watched the banks that are not labeled as systemically important go under because they're not chosen. They're not a part of the select boys club that get to stay open for long. So they are forced to go under. And everything is being consolidated until under 3 or 4 major banks: JP Morgan, Chase, Citibank, State and Trusts, and probably Wells Fargo. But they're gonna go. I think Wells Fargo will go belly up pretty soon because they're bringing too much of their issues to the light, and the American public is hearing about Wells Fargo too much. Hence, watch this. Let me share something with you guys. There was put yourself in these people's shoes here. This is an article I came across yesterday, and put yourself in these people's shoes, man. So this is an article that came out. This came out. What is this? This came out today. It was redone today. But here's the title here. It says, Wells Fargo says internal error caused more home foreclosures than expected. And so 870 customers were incorrectly denied mortgage changes, leading to 545 of them losing their homes because of a banking internal error. So this is just one of Wells Fargo's oops moments. They have a oops moment every 3 months or 6 months, and they're in the mainstream news every quarter with some type of internal error. So I can imagine that the big boys club is saying, hey, Wells Fargo's causing too much problems, folks. They're not doing business the way that we need to have business done in order to stay in control. So this next correction, let's just make sure we don't set anything aside for Wells Fargo when they need to capitalize on some of their liquidity there, and they need a favor or two. Let's not extend a loan to them boys and let them go under. So imagine how. So to me, I know I would be pissed, but by a show of hands, to those watching, if you were, and you could have been, I don't know, if you know someone that's of the 545 people that lost their homes because they couldn't refinance their mortgage, they were probably in an adjustable rate mortgage or something of that nature, where they were denied and they couldn't afford it and they lost their home. How would you be pissed to then find out it was an internal error by the banking people that you work with? And so that's just another example of Wells Fargo's I want to throw out there to you guys, because this is what's happening. And I can imagine a lot of people were pissed. There were not a lot of happy campers, put it like that. So if you're interested, just Google Wells Fargo internal error. Yeah, man, that's you know what I'm saying. This stuff, man, is just, I'm sure that stuff hurts. It has to hurt. But anyway, so what else is going on, people? So once again, we got 12 people. We got 12 thumbs up. That's nowhere near 80%. So, you know, one of the things that once we get it. And so my question is usually, you know, if you're watching the show right now and you're involved in a chat, or perhaps you're not involved in the chat, but you're just tuning in because it's entertaining or educational, whichever one comes first. When the request for a thumbs up goes out, you know, is it like one of the things where because the person is asking for them, you're like, no, I ain't gonna do that? Or is it like, you know, yeah, I'm not gonna really, you know, waste my time. You know, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not gonna give you a thumbs up. Because I wonder, because I don't want to come across as one of the guys that's begging for a thumbs up as if like it'll, you know, make the day or something like that. But, you know, for those people who actually click thumbs up, a chance at winning some gold. And so I'm going to give away a gram tonight to whoever can answer my question once we get 80%. So I'm thinking like, you know, it's the equivalent of a lottery, but yet you're going to walk away with something tangible. And on top of that, you ain't going to spend no money. So why would you not hit the thumbs up button? I don't know. I would just hit it just because I want to be selfish and get me some gold, but that's not everybody. But anyway, what else is going here? It says House 9181, 91 to 108. More, sorry, left wing or right wing belong to the same vulture. Internal air, what in the world? Corner. So yeah, let me check this out. What's happening? What's happening? Where's a good place to go get just the charts? I just want to see election charts. I don't want to see no videos. Let me see what I can find some charts. I just want to see what the current polls show without any fluff. Let's try Washington midterm election results. Let's just try this and see if there's anything worthwhile. Nope, another video. So it looks like everybody wants to show a video, and we don't have time for video because we're making a video right now. Let me just click this and mute this. Play in the background. Play. So, any recommendations out there? Feel free to put it in the chat. New York Times Live. Tony, good one. New Times. Current local time, local resorts dashboard. There we go. Tony, always coming through in the clutch. All right, so let's pull it up here so everybody can see what Mr. Tony sees. So, midterm election results live. So, we have the House, 113 Republicans to 98 as of now. And then in the Senate, you need 51 to win the Senate, and there's 48 right now with the 42 Republicans, 23. So this so it looks like the House might be battling a little bit. I don't know what the poll results are, but so here's the thing. So we got some people out here in the audience says that Jesse says Anderson Cooper. So here's a question: what's the chance that Anderson Cooper is in one of those indictments? Is there any chance that he's in there? Yeah, that'd be interesting. But anyway, so this is something worth keeping an eye on. Just even if it's entertainment for entertainment's sake, this is our country, man. Like I imagine a lot of governments around the world is keeping an eye on the outcome of this, knowing that one way or the other there's going to be some changes, and if blue wins some stuff, they're gonna try to get rid of the president. And if red gets some stuff, if red sweeps and gets hold of everything, there might be some truth being revealed. Or I would imagine, all those people in indictments, they know their name is in there. They're going to go down swinging. So expect some false flags. Expect, a couple more migrant caravans coming from everywhere. And then also expect things to get very dangerous, because in the last couple of weeks, I've noticed, and I'm sure just because I look forward more so, but it seems like a lot of the what's the politician name, old black lady, I can't even think of her name. Oh man, and if they win the Senate or something like that, she would be Speaker of the House or Speaker of the Chairman. She'd be chairman of the something other if they won. Anyway, It'll come to me in a minute if anybody can't think about it. But anyway, so point in case is, if I've heard a lot of tonality from a lot of people about being aggressive and people actually talking about, you know, taking stuff by force. You got to be forceful. You got to stand up and fight. I'm like, you know, you talk physically fight or just, you know, share your ideology, share your beliefs, and, you know, all in hopes of having our country, you know, helping our country, or just a personal thing. And it looks like on the Democratic side, a lot of things have become personal for whatever reason. So I'd imagine if there's one color outdoes the other one in anything, it's still going to be Maxine. There's, yeah, Maxine Waters. There you go. Man, home rocks, on point. There you go. Drew a blank. So Maxine Waters is getting very radicalized lately. She's out there preaching to, you know, fight back and, you know, use force, and you got to, you know, stand your ground. And yeah, man, only in this country where you can speak your mind freely can you say and do some of the things that has been done, and there have been no repercussions for it. And here's another note. I'm curious to find out your thoughts. So feel free to call in 1-833-LIVE-RTD or in the chat. Let me know. The statement that was pulled out from Hillary Clinton a week ago, however long ago, during a on-stage, you know, conversation with somebody, and referencing the similarities and the whole they look alike comment that she made and laughed at. Does that, because I mean, of course, I saw it on RT, excuse me, and RT tried to spin it off like, you know, it was racist, and you know, depending on, some people got a quick trigger. You know, you say the wrong thing, and you know, you play the race card, and you want to start fighting and shooting people. Then other people's like, you know, I don't fault nobody. You know, I just counted up as ignorance, and just, you know, people stuck in their own ways. You know, it is what it is. But the comment that Hillary Clinton made in reference to, I think it was Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, and somebody else, and then joking around, she was like, "Oh yeah, they all look the same." They all look the same, I think. So did anybody else hear that? A, and then what was your initial thoughts? Was it like, oh, you know, that's something she'll say, or don't worry about that, she was just playing, or what? What are your thoughts on that? Share me your thoughts on that if you happen to see that comment that she made, referring to a light-skinned and a dark-complexioned young man looking the same, look nothing alike, but they all look the same. And so let me know if you want to. If not, if it's a touchy subject, oh, never mind. I don't want to ruffle no feathers. Don't want to ruffle no feathers. It says, let me see here. More people came in caravans when George Bush was there than anybody. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. And so knowing that George Bush and Bill Clinton and all those guys are part of the same boys club, they all had the same agenda, so I wouldn't be surprised. It's just, it wasn't a mainstream topic at that time because, you know, at that point, everybody was living high off the hog until 2008 happened. And then at that point, who the hell cared about the borders, because they lost their houses and half their portfolios, and technically in real wealth, people still ain't recovered yet. And if you ain't recovered in 10 years, nominally, it's good to say, you know, this next boy, there may not be no recovery if everything you have is measured in things with high counterparty risk. It says she was used to saying that around her friends. She forgot where she was. Charmin, I do believe that 100%. And here's the thing, like, jokingly, casually, the best time to truly tell the makeup of a person is when they're casually joking around and they're not thinking. And so it's one thing to be sitting there, you know, looking at a teleprompter and you are conscious of your thoughts because you're trying to make sure you come across as being very professional and articulate. And there's another one, you just lay back in a comfortable environment and you're laughing and giggling, and all of a sudden something comes out. That truly reflects the contents of your heart, I believe. So no doubt in my mind that, you know, she's not, you know, the nicest person you probably want to spend your lunch hour with. She's probably the type of person that you wouldn't want to work with, period, in my opinion. It says the whole thing is about white supremacy. Tony Bella, I don't doubt it. That's been the name of the game thus far. And more than likely, nothing will change. It will be the same way. That's why I believe that this whole white supremacy aspect can only be outdone and overcome from the spirit realm. So it's, you know, that's my stance there. It says both George Bushes had more care. Okay, we saw that already. Maxine Waters. It says all politicians are the same color, green, hen and dollars. Very true. And so we'll see if, you know, the money continues to flow, and the special interests and all the bought and paid for politicians are still able to operate and return favors the way they have thus far, or will there be some change made in reference to, because all it takes is a couple prominent politicians that's been in power for decades to be shown that they are corrupt and have been behind a lot of, fraudulent activity that will put a very bad stain on that particular seat, to where the next incoming person that takes that spot will more be conscious initially on like, okay, all eyes are on this particular job because the former person, got caught up in this and that or whatever. So I got to be careful until, your first year or two. Then you go back to doing what you do. Tony, my bad. My phone is on. Everything is set on my side. It's just when it goes off, I must not have saw it. Let me cut the ringer. I cut my ringer on. So hopefully it comes through. But it looks like, for whatever reason, my signal is not as strong as it should be. So I apologize if you try again. If it doesn't answer, it looks like my phone might not be. So I'm going to turn it off real quick and cut it back on. And hopefully that helps your boy out. So I apologize for that once again. Technical glitches. You know how it goes. So, I can't help it sometimes, man. Trying to run a one-man show. I don't have anybody call in and take my calls. I don't have a receptionist. I'm operating on a low budget here. Okay, so yeah, if you are waiting, then it's not even ringing on my side. Because I cut it off and cut it back on. So, Dems win back the House. So, let me get this straight. So, Tone, try calling. So, I see that I got a missed call. Let me do you one better, Tone. Let me do you one better. I'm going to give you a call. Let me see if this works. Calling. So let's see if this works. Let's see if this is Mr. Tony.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic.
So it looks like I'm trying to call somebody back and it didn't work. So try calling it again, Tone. If that was you, pick up. Anyway, people, we're coming down the home stretch anyway. So we got 24 thumbs up, which is, let me see, what's 24 divided by 41? Somebody do the math for me. That's a little bit over 50%. It's like 55, 56%. So yeah, we're gonna need a lot more thumbs up, people. So those that might be joining in late, the goal was if we can get 80% of the current volume of people watching, then we can I'll put a chance out there if you guys will win some gold, and we can end this program off with a hopefully a winner. My goal is to help you get your weight up by making it worth your while to join the conversation. And if you guys have not, I would encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to get your weight up. It don't cost you much. It's as cheap as it's going to be probably for any time in your lifetime. Right now might be the cheapest. The chance of it going lower, I'm not sure about that. Then got the ebook down below. Click that. That's, Alan Greenspan, the guy who behind all this, the one who's probably the primary reason we are in the mess we're in now, because he dropped interest rates in .com as well as the 08 recession-ish. He played a part in that. He wasn't on board, but he was a part of that same school of thought. So definitely people take advantage of the opportunity for a couple more weeks, and it's all she wrote. It says here, what else we got here? I can answer phones, Mike. How you like your coffee? Actually, Jesse, I don't like coffee at all. I do not drink coffee. I'm a tea guy. It says, do you think China folding under tariffs? I don't think China will fold under tariffs because I think they're going to just basically try to go around everything. So they're going to, of course, suffer. They're going to suffer in reference to trade and the lack of volume they receive from us. They're going to try to make it up in other places. Hence the idea of trying to help Africa get online and help Africa develop at a much more rapid pace, and I'm sure they plan to, because China right now has billions upon billions invested in all countries throughout Africa in preparation for the time that they can then make them their primary consumers, because Africa is an untapped continent, because you know, there's no fund there. There's no infrastructure there, but China's leading the way. So I think China will have in the next 5-10 years, if this stuff lasts that long, China gonna have some buyers online pretty soon. Says will work for Bitcoin. Ace, you're 200 right. All right, so speaking of which, as we draw towards the end, we got 28. So somebody do the math. What's 28? What's our percentages? Anybody quick math on top of their head? What's our percentages? Is it time for the drawing or what? What we got? How many? We got 28. Oops. When it's time, it's time. Oh, no. 65%. I had to do the math real quick. So once